Hi, I'm Mike. Welcome to the Farm Wolf. Today I'm going to be changing the oil on a Yamaha Rhino. This one is a 2009 model. It's a 700. So, thought I'd do a little video on it. Hope you enjoy. Something I like to do, I like to start the engine, let it warm up. It's supposed to help, suspend the dirt in the oil. That way you get all the dirt out of your engine when you change the oil. And I always think warmer oil drains easier anyway. So that's why I like to do it. I'll just let this run for a few minutes until I think it's warm enough, and then I'll drain the oil out. That's when we'll start the oil change. I got it warmed up, so I'm going to go ahead and put it on some ramps. Ramps to drive up on so I can get under it a little bit easier. Looks like it's about lined up. Looks pretty good. I'll just drive it up on there. I do like to put something behind the wheel, keep it from rolling. Alright, I went on ahead and took my seats out and then took the center cover off, and right there where my finger is pointing towards the back of the engine, down low middle there, I don't know if you can see it, you just barely see it, that's the oil filter. If you've never took the seats out before, there's just a handle up front. Raise it up, you kind of pull it up and then slide it forward. On the back of the seat are these three prongs that kind of go into some hooks. These pieces of metal here are what I'm referring to when I say the hooks. The center part, I guess that would be called a cowling, I don't know what you call it, but it goes over the shifter and the parking brake. I'm not gonna lie, it was a little bit difficult to get off for me. I had to kind of push this part forward, raise up, and kind of jiggle it back and forth and raise it up there off the front. The shifter boot stays on, and that piece of rubber stayed on, so obviously when I put this back on, I'll have to work that back into the plastic. I went on ahead and I bought I guess you call it, oil change kit. Comes with the crush washer for the oil plug, the oil filter, and it came with 3 quarts of oil, the Yamaha lube. I looked it up, I think this calls for 2.22 quarts, so more than enough oil, and I kind of like running what the machine calls for, so that's why I went with Yamaha lube. Up under the machine, you can see the skid plate here. There's a couple oval shaped ones. This one with the circle there, I don't know if that'll show it or not. That is where the oil plug is. 17mm socket fits it, so I'll get that loose and let it drain. Alright, I've been working on this for a while. I'm trying to get that little crush washer off here. I'm trying to work a screwdriver underneath it to pry it up and get it. I'm just going to tell you, I've been working at it for a while now. It's a chore. I do believe it would make a preacher cuss, but I'm going to get it off one way or the other. Alright, I finally got that. I had to pry a putty knife in between there and just kind of keep working it. I had that oil draining, so it should be drained now. I'll just put the new crush washer on and we'll put this back up in, and I'll take the oil filter off and put that back on, and we'll put oil in it. That's all. Now just put it back up in there. I'm back out of the way, so I can't really get in there to see because I want the camera to get some footage, but I put that oil plug inside the socket, but I just hand tighten it until I get it kind of a little tight, and then I'll finish it up with the ratchet. And I do that by hand, that way, I don't want to get it cross-threaded. Trying to do this with one hand, and I think my stupid camera keeps flipping it where you're gonna see a skinny image of this, but oh well. But anyway, you want it tight, but you don't want to do it too tight. You don't want to cross or strip it out. I usually choke up on the ratchet, as you can see up here close to the head of the ratchet. That way I don't put way too much torque on it. I went on ahead and got the torque wrench. I figured why not do that? It calls for 22 pounds. I was just gonna say, you probably saw in that video, you never did hear that torque wrench click. It felt like it was getting tight to me, and I thought, man, I better stop. I don't want to overdo it. I checked the torque wrench on some other bolts and it ain't clicking. So sometimes when you go to do it right, you still can't do it right. So I would just use your ratchet. You know, you can probably judge and tell. You don't want to torque it where it's going to strip, but you don't want to loosen up, it's going to vibrate out. So just use your own judgment. Or if you want, 22 foot-pounds is what it calls for. Get a torque wrench, verify it works, put it at 22 foot-pounds. On mine, there's quite a bit of mud, dried up mud down here, so I'm gonna have to try to get all this cleaned out, and I'll come back and we'll get that oil filter off. All right, I put one of these caps that go on the end of the oil filter. Put my ratchet on it. It seems like it's turning it off, but I can't tell. It's hard to do with one hand and try to film. If I can't get it like this, I tried my oil filter pliers, these, but the handles will touch before it gets a good grip on it because the oil filter is so small. So if nothing else, I've got a great big set of channel locks. I think they're 460s. I'll put that on it and I'll get it off one way or the other. Well, I'm gonna have to break out the old 460s here, the old channel locks. Hi, I can get it. I went on ahead and tilted up, lifted up the bed. I think it'd be easier to get in from the backside. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. I might just try it from through here. We'll see how it goes. I'm gonna tell you, this is not easy. It would be if I had a oil filter wrench that actually fit. The only option I have here, because everything's in my way, my pliers, they hit everything. I've only got like that much room to get in there. So I'm gonna have to do these little baby bites all the way around until I can get it loose enough that I can get it by hand. If I had the right tool, this would be so much easier, but it is what it is. I think maybe I might be able to get it by hand now, I hope. Yep. Always look at the old filter just to make sure that the O-ring or the gasket did in fact come off with it and didn't stay on that filter. I have changed an oil filter before and that gasket actually stayed stuck to the engine. So if you go to put your oil filter on like that, you're gonna have problems. So I always check that, and I also like to do a visual check where the filter goes on too. Here's looking at where the filter goes on. Everything looks good there. Okay, what I do, I get some oil and I lube up the gasket. I never put one on dry. So just make sure that you lube your gasket up, you should be okay. Alright, putting the new filter on. Found out it's not so hard if you come in here the back way. I'm gonna grab it with a rag so I can hang on to it. I'm just gonna hand tighten it. I get it where it's pretty snug. You don't want to over tighten these either and strip out your threads. I'm just using a makeshift funnel. It actually was a funnel, but I had to use the bigger part for another project. So cut that down. Good night. This is hard to break. Trying to break the seal on that. Might have to come back. Alright, finally got that seal broken. It was tough, I'll say that. This, I probably won't bore you showing me pouring oil, but 2 1/4 quarts, best I can tell, 2.22 quarts, so should be pretty close to 2 1/4. I'll put that in, then check it on the dipstick. I'll start it, let it run for a while, check for leaks. I'll check it on the dipstick again. That's all there is to it. Alright, probably hard to tell on camera, but it's up to the full mark. Now what I'll do, I'll just start it, and I'll look down there around the oil filter, drain plug, make sure it's not leaking. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have a side-by-side and you're unsure how to change the oil, maybe this will help you. Nothing else, maybe it was good entertainment for you. Thanks for watching, and I did forget to mention this, but it kind of goes without saying. When you take your oil filter off, there's a hole cut in the skid plate. So keep your drain pan down there where you take your oil filter off, but it's like I said, that goes without saying. I just tightened mine by hand, pretty much tight as I could get it. I think it's what they recommend. If you're unsure, you know, you can always tighten it by hand, maybe give it like a 1/4 turn with a wrench or something, but I wouldn't overdo it. You don't want to strip it out. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.